All right, guys, I'm going to show a quick video on how to create a random number generator. This can be used in a lot of the games that we're going to be developing and, for you guys' own projects. So if you're considering like ever having a game where you have dice and you want it to randomly pick between 1 through 6 for the dice, or any number sided die, or heads or tails, or any of that stuff, we need some type of random number generator. Okay. Now, up to now, you guys have been assigning. Either you are using the scanner and asking the player to give you a number, like what you did for the Magic 8 Ball, and they give a number. That number doesn't change. Okay, so if we run this, and I have a for loop, which we haven't got to yet, but just know that it's running it 20 times. And that number is always that number that I assigned, okay? Which is not really what we want to do when we are trying to play a game. We want a little bit of randomness into it. Okay, so instead of doing where we are manually assigning, we could, and let me take this off, at least for now, so you guys can see every time that I run that it's different. Okay, so the way to do a random number generation is math.random, and that is going to give it to us, and we're going to need to actually go into this and read what it does, but we need to cast. So what math random, and I'm going to go ahead and hit go into it. This method, so just control and double click to go into anything, it's going to return a double. Now what it returns, it's a double, but it is returning where it is equal to or greater than 0.00 and less than 1.0. So it's inclusive of 0, but it is exclusive of 1. So what we really want to do is if we're running this, just so you can see, I'm going to go ahead and run it, and then I'm going to bring the for loop back in. So this generated, with the casting as an int, it's always going to be 0 because any decimal when I'm casting to an int will be a 0. So I have to play around with it first. But for you guys to see, let's make this a double real quick. For you guys to see, it is returning a random number between 0 and up to 0.99 repeating, okay? So we want to convert this to a larger number. Now, the easiest way that I can explain this to you is when we are using an int, we have to cast whatever the answer is as an int. Now, this, as we already seen, is going to give us 0. It doesn't matter how many times we run, it's going to give us 0. So we really need to put the math.random inside of parentheses. And inside of it, I need to consider how many options I want, okay? So if I want just 2 options, I type how many options. So when I run this, instead of it giving me a decimal, it's going to convert it to an int, but it's not going to be, it's going to be 0 or 1. So let's go ahead and pull off the comment so you can see it run 20 times. Now the first number is always going to be 0. Now, I had a logic error because I'm running this, but then I'm assigning it once. And since I'm calling this, it's not rerunning. If I want this to run where it's rechecking every time, I have to have it inside that for loop or any loop. Okay, so now if we're looking, we have 1s and 0s. Those are our 2 choices. Okay, If we wanted the number to start at 1 and have two options, 1 and 2, then after, outside of these parentheses, we need to add the number so that we can say where it's going to start to. So this last number is where we want it to start at. So let's go ahead and run it again. And now we have 1 and 2. If we wanted 10 options, say we want them to pick between 1 and 10, and we want to include 10. If I just use this where I'm multiplying for 10 options, I will get it, but I'm going to get 0 through 9. Okay, so I have 0. I don't have any 10s. And again, it's random. But if I want 1 to be included and I want to go up to 10, so I need the option of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's my 10 options. Starting at 1. This last number is saying which number I want to start at. Okay, so I have 10. I'm going all the way down to 1. That's my 10 options. If I wanted to do a number that's between 1 and 100, then I have 100 options, and I want it to start at 1. So I could run this, and I'm starting to get a random number generator. So this is what we could use on our Magic 8-Ball. Instead of asking them for a number, we could randomly take a number to give a random answer from our conditionals. Now, if I wanted to include, let's go back to this 10. If I wanted to include 0, so I say give me a number between 0 and 10 where I want the answer to include 0 and I want the answer to include 10, then that's not 10 choices. That is 11 choices. If I'm counting 1 to 10 is 10 plus 0, that is 11 choices. And running this, and if I want it to start at 0, running this will give me 0 to 10. So here is 0 and here is 10, okay? All right, so that's how we can use random number generator. Again, you don't have to do it inside of the for loop. You can do it here, and you can say whatever your choices are. So if I wanted 100 choices and I wanted it to start at 1, if I wanted to start it at 5, if I wanted it to start at 10, if I wanted to start it at 20, that's what that last number is. And this is how many options, okay? So that's an easy way of being able to randomly generate a number. Keep in mind that if you now have it inside of a loop, you're only generating one random number, even if you are using that number multiple times. Okay, all right. Good luck. Have fun.